Despain, and I'm a senior social work major at MacMurray College, and this is my final presentation on my semester-long project working one-on-one with a client. My client's name was Courtney. She was a 20-year-old Caucasian woman who found Grace Counseling online and decided herself to come and seek our services. She was dealing with the loss of her best friend Amy while also struggling with feeling a lack of support at home. She was feeling very unheard by her mother, her dad, and her boyfriend. She was also dealing with depression and anxiety, and her depression was getting to the point where she was struggling to get out of bed and make it to school on a daily basis. So the intake process is the first step to the helping process, where you build rapport with your client and get to know them and why they're there. I started with explaining the 3 exceptions to my client of confidentiality, and I had her sign the consent form, make sure that she understood. And after I had my client fill out an intake form with basic information about her, and I went over that with her because there were some blank spaces, so I explained more thoroughly what those meant, and I helped her fill in the blank spaces. And after the session, I filled out a case note summarizing the session, and skills that I demonstrated throughout this process were paraphrasing, open-ended questions, and summarization. And those skills were used to help build a report in the session.
Is this just what we talked about?
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about, the 3 exceptions. And
Any other questions about those?
That makes sense.
Okay.
And I just wanted to show you me having her fill the consent form so that she understood confidentiality and the exceptions to that before we started digging any deeper. The second stage for the helping process is the assessment stage. And I asked my client a series of questions and completed a multi-dimensional assessment form that just dug a little bit deeper, got to know the client a little bit more. And after the session, I also filled out a case note. Skills that were demonstrated throughout the assessment session were summarization, information giving, and paraphrasing. Summarization was really important in this stage because there was a lot that was discussed. So it was really crucial to go over everything, summarize it, and discuss and highlight the key points and themes that were discussed throughout the whole session.
I just don't feel like I got support from him, so I just don't really talk to him that much.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is he's not really supporting you emotionally, school-wise. And that, as you could see, that was me paraphrasing her emotions that she was feeling with her dad. So the third phase is planning intervention, where I made a treatment plan with my client, and we came up with 3 goals to get her where she wanted to be. So evidence-based practice I used were 2 articles that were focused on solution-focused therapy, and that's what I used to make my treatment plan with my client. And solution-focused therapy is based on the concept that every problem has a solution that has a very positive outlook, and it also addresses 3 really important things, which are resiliency of the client, accepts the client's worldview, and uses the client's imagination to visualize their future using the miracle question. And the miracle question is, if you woke up and your problem was solved, what would that look like? Who would notice, and how would they react? And after the session, I filled out a case note summarizing the session. I use a reflection of feeling here because it's really important that you use the client's worldview and you use their imagination where they want to go. It's very self-determined. So I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page with how she was feeling about everything. And clarification, kind of the same thing, and summarization. And then the video is me asking my client the miracle question. So if you were to wake up tomorrow and all of your problems were solved, what would that look like? evaluation is the last stage of the helping process, and I evaluate the client's process of her 3 goals using an evaluation form that was similar to a Likert scale. And with all of her 3 goals were learning coping mechanisms for anxiety and depression, getting her grades up in school, and learning assertive communication and using it in her daily life. And with all 3 of those goals, she showed positive process, which was really awesome. And I also filled out a case note summarizing the session, used reflection of feeling, summarization, and information giving. And the information giving, oh, it's right there, my bad. But the information giving was actually used to terminate the session. I found a poem called Don't Quit that I read to my client. So just knowing that my client has been dealing with depression and anxiety and has dealt with that in the past, I wanted to give her a positive outlook for things that come her way again. And I also ended it letting her know if she ever needed to come to Grace Counseling again, that we were always opening with welcome arms for her to ever come back. So some things I think I succeeded in were showing empathy, mirroring my client, using proper skills at appropriate times, keeping a clear tone of voice, and honoring the termination of the session. And in the future, I need to work on my nervous habits and do better from refraining from them. I clicked my pen a lot, which for a client that has anxiety, that has to be extremely distracting. Towards the end, I just stopped having a pen in my hand, so that wouldn't happen. I'll be a better active listener at all times, and I won't be as worried about just answering what the client's saying or having a response. I'll use a wider variety of skills. I do think that I use the proper skills at appropriate times, but I mainly use like paraphrasing and summarization, so I'd like to widen that up and get more skills used. I'll be more mindful in the pace in which I'm talking to my client. I had a clear voice, but I got a little speedy sometimes when I got nervous, and I'll be more confident in my skills. While I do think I use them at appropriate times, I did have self-doubt, wondering if I was using the right ones, and so I'll just be more confident in myself. Any questions?
Did you notice, like, when you stopped using a pen, did that help your client?
Yeah, she was actually a trooper with the whole pen situation, and I feel like it didn't affect her as poorly as like it would have me if I was the client, honestly. But I do think it did.
I've got a quick question about the evaluation of, once you were able to set goals with the client and work on some of the interventions, what were some of the tasks or treatments that you found worked well with this particular client?
So role playing worked really well, especially because in the beginning she was feeling unheard by her boyfriend, but at the end he was very understanding and wanted to help her.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did she get to role play with me, but she also got to go home and role play with him. So I think that had a big impact on her. And then for the coping, we really focused on things that worked for her and things that she wanted to do. So I think that all 3 of those tasks, which were walking on Thursdays and listening to music, journaling and using breathing techniques when she felt anxious or a panic attack coming on, really worked well for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you guys. Oh, references. Okay.
Thank you.